put it to good use. Fourth aspect, which is always the favorite of everybody, is customer centricity. I think this is something which will be topical forever. I have heard this for the last 20 years. It's topical today, and I can guarantee it will be topical for the next 50 years. And the reason is obviously clear. A customer pays us money for us to survive. Therefore, centering around him is only logical. But I think a good CEO, to my mind, has got to understand what this customer centricity really means. And I think, at least as per my experience, customer centricity is to understand what he expects from you. What does a customer expect from a telecom company? Very few things. He only wants good coverage, good connectivity all the time, wherever he goes. He wants competitive tariffs, not free, but competitive tariffs with no hidden charge. And he does not want to get a feeling that somebody else is being given a better treatment than him. He wants simple, and this is my belief, going forward he'll need simple and understandable plans, as is happening in the West. There are bundle plans which are simple to understand. I think a good CEO has got to understand that the last thing our customer, who is dear to us, who we want to be loyal, who we want to say that, oh, he loves us, the fact is, the last person he ever wants to talk to is a telecom company. And therefore, this is something we all need to understand. If we want to gauge whether our customers love us, the only thing we should ask them is, do we give you an occasion to talk to us? If not, you're wonderful. But if you do give him a chance to talk to you, it is very clear that he is not a happy customer. And finally, I think a mistake we all do on the customer side, a brand is not about fancy advertising. It has to be about fulfilling and creating trust and confidence with your customers. The fifth thing, which I think going forward, every good CEO on a telecom company will have to my mind, follow, there's no choice, is that while you will compete, and you'll compete fiercely, there is no choice but to collaborate amongst the industry players. And that's not cartelization, I'm talking of collaboration. And a good example of that was formation of Industars. It was a prime example where the three of us, Airtel, Vodafone and Idea, fiercely compete on the front end. Absolutely fierce competition. But at the back end, where we felt we can bring all our infrastructure together, there is a massive collaboration. What has it done? That scarce resources which we needed for these infrastructures have got shared. The costs have come down, capex has come down, ongoing capex need has vanished, and lower costs have led to our ability to cater to more customers. Sixth, and this you could ascribe it a little bit to perhaps my qualification, I think a good CEO anywhere in the world, in any industry, more so in telecom, has to have a good understanding of finance. I think one of the problems I find in our industry is people shy away from directly talking about importance of financial performance and finances. But again, he need not be and he must not be a financial expert. In fact, my belief is there's nothing like a financial expert, because finance is such a simple, commonsensical stuff that there is no expert there. It's all basic common sense. But a CEO needs to embrace that common sense. He must understand the profit and loss. He must understand balance sheet. He must understand some basic ratios, whether it's debt to EBITDA, whether it's your debt servicing ratios, the financial covenants which the institution demand, and so on. More important, once he starts understanding this, what will clearly come out is that every time he goes for a policy decision or he goes for a strategic decision, he will be able to see through the long-term effect it can have on his P&L and balance sheet. And I deliberately use the word long-term because a CEO can also be very, very short-term, which can be disaster. But you've got to look at a long-term effect on P&L and balance sheet. And therefore, whether you talk of customer centricity, whether you talk of great call centers, whatever you do, your aim has to be that it has to result into better P&L and a better balance sheet. At the end of the day, I think we all have to admit, financial performance is the most important yardstick of judging the success of an organization and of an individual. I also believe that any CEO who simply brushes aside finance by saying, oh, my CFO looks after this, be wary. Because if a CEO does not understand the basics, that company will never flourish. The seventh is, again, a very favorite of mine, transparency and corporate governance. And I always say, transparency not for the outer world, transparency for the CEO, transparency for the top management team. Because as you deal, and in telecom there is no choice but to deal with a large business, as you deal with that, if what is being reported is not transparent and true, it's doomed, because things will keep getting brushed under the carpet for years to a point that it will just implode and will be a complete washout. So you need, as a CEO, to go extra mile to be transparent, what is called corporate governance. We fortunately took that decision long time back, and we decided we'll go for quarterly full audits. Now, it was purely meant for our own benefit, because once you at least get it audited, you know whatever is getting reported is correct. The big benefit of transparency is, it's true, whatever gets reported gets fixed. So if it is good, bad or ugly, report it, show it to everybody, you will fix it and you'll take timely action. Eighth, along with transparency and corporate governance, more important is strong and efficient governance and analysis. I think a lot of companies fail in providing strong governance. And by governance, I mean at every level, I'm a big votary for governance by exception. I think the CEO of tomorrow, like the CEO of past, will have to rely more and more on governance by exception, because that would enable people in the organization to govern their parts of businesses better. It would enable timely actions, very important. It would also enable that the mistake which we guys many a times do, instead of taking decisions based on perceptions, we'll be able to actually take decisions based on fine analytics. And this is a problem I think all of us have faced from time to time. Lot of decisions, lot of big decisions get taken based on mere hearsays and perceptions. And we all suffer from it. We are all culprits of this. But good governance would enable CEOs to take well-informed analytical decisions. Extensive use of IT in that is an absolute must. One part in governance which I would like to especially mention before I come to the final point is internal controls. I think it is normally left to the internal assurance director or the finance chief to look after internal controls, but I think the importance of internal control needs to be understood by the CEO, because unless you have strong internal controls, mainly financial internal controls, there is no way that a CEO can afford to run a large, big company. And finally, the point which is certainly closest to my heart is simplification. I think it is the responsibility of a CEO to embrace the culture of simplification. As a CEO, first of all, he has got to simplify things in his own mind, because a CEO could very easily get bogged down by the complexities which I mentioned in the opening part of my talk. If he gets bogged down, he'll bog down the whole organization. Therefore, first and foremost, he has got to simplify things in his own mind. He has also got to encourage simplification at every step. Now, at Bharti, I think we have one very famous saying which is a part of our DNA, that to our mind, an expert is not somebody who comes from a background of, let's say, nuclear physics. He's an expert, fine, but the real expert is one who can put that very complex technology in such simple terms that everybody in the organization, down to the peon, can actually understand what it means for our business. If you cannot do that, my point is there is no expertise in you. As a finance professional, I can keep talking of some rubbish like basis points and you know talking of wall crossing and all that nonsense which goes on in the financial world. But if I cannot explain it to my people as to what rate of interest would it cost if I borrow money, it just won't click. People won't understand what's going on. I think it's the CEO's job to do that. And once you encourage that simplification, what would come out of that is you would find ways of eliminating things which produce no results. You will innovate. You will do new things. You will do things in a manner which have not been attempted before. Now, this responsibility is certainly that of the CEO. If he unleashes simplification as a mantra, it will turn out into a culture. And I think what it would result, at least based on my experiences, you save enormous amount of productive energy of the organization. And the most important thing is that when you talk in a language which everybody understands, since we are dealing with team games, when everybody understands what, why, and how, that's what simplification will do to the organization. So I think to all future telecom professionals, particularly the future telecom CEOs, I feel you are into an industry which remains as exciting, as dynamic, as much of potential as there was. There are very exciting times ahead. Obviously, with the increase in scale, challenges will increase. But if we really keep to the basics, if we keep our eye on the ball, as they say in cricket, you will all emerge fantastic winners. A great future ahead of you. Let's all make the best of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta. I think once again, you initially said it's back to basics, but I think it's very important as we move on to the next phase of telecom, and you talked about scale and challenges and also the opportunities. I think it's very, very pertinent that some of these points that you discussed here are taken back and really thought over and implemented in everyday business. Thank you so much once again. Can I request Mr. Sanjay Kaul, Managing Director, Service Provider Business at Cisco, to please present a small memento of appreciation to our keynote speaker, Mr. Akhil Gupta. Mr. Sanjay Kaul. A big round of applause for Mr. Akhil Gupta again, please. Thanks a lot, Sanjay. Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta. Our next speaker for this evening is Mr. Pramod Saxena, founder and chairman of Oxygen Services India Limited. Can I invite Mr. Saxena on the dais, please?
Good morning, everyone, old colleagues, friends. It's a great opportunity for me to be able to address this gathering of telecom experts. Last 20